This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Luke Sylvia and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic! What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is December 28th, 2023. Jonathan Osborne here. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Luke Sylvia. Luke, what is going on?
Just recording after a loss stinks. I wish that this was flip-flopped. I wish that the loss was last night, honestly, and that the win was tonight, because it's a lot better. The vibes are better. You went to the game tonight to cover it. There would have maybe been a lot more fun involved with this episode. It is what it is. But I wish it was after a win. That's how it's going. Yeah,
a bit of an odd episode for us. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm not in my usual setup. This is the first time in I don't even know how long I'm recording from a hotel room. Yeah, so this is the first time since the 2019 playoffs that I'm recording from a hotel room, because I have an appointment tomorrow in Orlando, and I didn't want to drive all the way home after the game and then drive all the way back. So I'm at the good old DoubleTree Hilton right now, and I'm recording off of my laptop, and we're in the Wi-Fi here at the DoubleTree isn't great. So I'm recording off of our 5G hotspot. So we're going to try to make this episode as, I don't want to say as brief as possible, but if we speed through things a little bit, please understand why. It's just upload times, and Kevin and myself don't want to be up until 5 a.m. trying to get this pod up, Luke.
This needs to be more efficient than the Magic were tonight against the Sixers.
Well, luckily that won't be difficult because they were not great. We'll talk about that game in just a few minutes here, folks. I want to let you know, if you've been waiting for your opportunity to shine and make an appearance on our Sixth Fan Show, the next edition of that is going to be filmed this Friday, December 29th, when the Magic take on the New York Knicks at home at the Kia Center, at which the Magic are now 0-2 at the newly named Kia Center, by the way. But if you want to make an appearance on that, please make sure to stop by. If you guys are going to that game on Friday, bring your voices. Going to have to be loud. Hopefully the Magic are able to get off to a good start in that one, because if not, Knicks games when the Knicks are killing the Magic are some of the most miserable watching experience you can possibly have as a Magic fan. And two of Luke's best friends are Knicks fans, and they'll let him hear about it as well if that game doesn't go well. So we really need a Magic win on Friday.
I couldn't have said it better. Absolutely. Danny and Brandon, I hope your Knicks are bricking on Friday.
And not in a good way. If you know
not
what I mean.
In a good way. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Folks, we've been trying our best to push this agenda the last week or so here, but NBA All-Star voting is officially open. Make sure you're going to vote.nba.com every day to vote, especially Franz and Paolo, but any of the other Magic guys that you want to see in the All-Star game. Jalen Suggs, Goga Batadze, you name it. Your favorite Magic players, you can vote them to the All-Star game, but especially Paolo and Franz, those guys are super deserving of that. So make sure you're going to vote.nba.com each day to vote your favorite Magic players to the All-Star game. Luke, let's get into the state of the Magic. So far this week, the Magic are 1-1 with a win over the Wizards on Tuesday, the loss on Wednesday to the Philadelphia 76ers. They are now 18-12 on the season. They are fifth in the Eastern Conference now. Their record is tied with Miami because the Magic lost to Miami. Miami holds the tiebreaker. We are 5.5 games back of first place Boston, 4.5 games back of second place Milwaukee. We're now 3 games back of third place Philadelphia, again tied with Miami, so we're sitting there at 5. We're 1 game up on Cleveland, 1 game up on the New York Knicks. That Friday game is going to be really big for that. 2.5 games up on Indiana. We are 3.5 games up on Brooklyn, and then 5 games up on Chicago, who's sitting at that 10th and final play-in spot. And the Magic are still 6 games up on Toronto and Atlanta. The good news, Luke, is with all the losing that the Magic have done, the past week or so, Indiana, Brooklyn, Chicago, Toronto, and Atlanta not really taking advantage and closing the gap. So the Magic still have a little bit of cushion between the postseason and the play-in, but they really got to start like tonight, we're going to talk about this loss to Philadelphia. During this stretch from now to the end of January, when the Magic have opportunities to close games and win games, they need to make sure they are doing so, because these wins are going to be getting harder and harder to come by. So far on the season, Luke, the Magic are 21st in offensive rating with a rating of 113. They are now 5th in defensive rating with a rating of 110.7. They are 11th in overall net rating with a rating of 2.3. Looking to the injury report, Markelle Fultz has missed the last 22 games with that patellar tendon, tendonitis, whatever is going on there. Joe Ingles has missed the last 6 games with an ankle sprain. J.I. has missed the last 2 games now with a sore hamstring. Gary Harris missed the last game against Philadelphia on Wednesday with a calf strain. Jalen Suggs returned to the lineup Tuesday versus the Washington Wizards, as he's been out with that wrist sprain. So now let's talk about the Wizards game, Luke. The Wizards game from Tuesday. Magic able to come out with the victory in that one. It was a 127 to 119, although the game wasn't really particularly that close. Where I want to take us is I want to fast forward to the 6-minute mark in the fourth quarter. The Magic were up 117 to 110, and then over the next few minutes there, Washington goes on a 19 to 10 run to close out the game. They got it as close as, I think it was 4 points late in this game before Paolo Banchero finds Goga Bitadze for the cut dunk there to give the Magic the 125 to 119 lead with 33 seconds left. Luke, this game just got way, way, way too close. As a matter of fact, it was 4. 4 points was as close as it got in the final few minutes here. But the Magic did a good job in this one, Luke, again, for the most part until those final few minutes. First few minutes of that fourth quarter really opened up the lead for themselves. Yeah, neither team in this one shot the ball poorly at all. Magic ended up 52.7%, Washington 49.4%. Luke, this was another instance of when we played the Wizards, twice a couple of weeks ago, where the Magic sort of let the Wizards dictate the pace. And for the majority of this game, the Magic were beating Washington at that game, but it almost came back to bite them in the closing minutes of this game. But on the road, first night of a back-to-back, a game that you very desperately needed to win. If you're looking at this next, 5 weeks, if there's a single game on the schedule where you're the Magic absolutely have to win a game, this Wizards game would be the first one. Luke, what did you think of this one?
Let's be honest here, Jonathan. None of that matters because it's all about Anthony Black. Black Magic, baby. He gets it done in this one. And really what I loved about Anthony Black's performance is that he simply was just knocking down shots. He wasn't playing anything outside of the norm, outside of what the team asks him. He even said it himself, listen, I was just getting assisted buckets, left and right. I wasn't really doing a lot on my own. It was off of just the normal stuff, right? Whether he was in the corner, hitting threes. He had one step back or sidestep 3 that was really nice at one point in that game. But other than that, he really was just in his zone. There wasn't a lot that you don't normally see. Good finishes at the rim from Anthony Black in that one. 9 of 13 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, 23 points. He had 6 rebounds, 4 steals. Listen, it is a really unfortunate negative for this one, but he did have 5 turnovers to just 1 assist. So that was kind of his rookie moment of the game, but you can't say too much because the guy shot 4 of 6 from 3 and has a career high 23. His previous was, I believe, 12.
Yeah, no, Anthony was fantastic in this game. Franz added 28, Paolo added 24, and this was one of those games where it's hey, if we can get one more guy going, Magic are going to be doing pretty well. And Anthony Black stepped up in a big way in that one. He had a bucket late, and I tweeted the tiger meme, the big dog, dapping up meme. And I was me next time I see Anthony Black. Little did I know, 24 hours later, that was going to be manifested. I'm walking down the tunnel, walking to watch warm-ups tonight before the game, and here comes Anthony Black. And I wasn't just going to completely dap him up because I don't think he really would have went for that. Nobody really does that these days. So I went for the fist bump. I said, AB, big dog. So let's get another one tonight, baby. So, hey, I'm a man of my word. I said, next time I see AB, I got to hit him with the big dog. And I hit him with the big dog. Unfortunately, we didn't get another one tonight. That was really the issue there.
Mm-hmm. That was the issue for sure. But Anthony Black in this one against the Wizards, man, was a lot of fun. And again, I'll say it again. It was a lot of fun because it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. Anthony Black doing what Anthony Black is instructed to do on this team, knowing his role, just hit all of the shots, and he didn't hesitate on 3-pointers either, which is the big thing that the Magic have been missing when it comes to point guard play. It's no secret. Markelle Fultz has been out. Everybody's talking about Markelle being out. When's he coming back? Do we need him back? That sort of thing. If I can tell you right now, if Anthony Black were to play every game like that one in terms of shot making, which he's not going to do, then I'd be like, we don't even need Markelle Fultz back because Anthony Black was truly incredible. But yeah, he does exactly what you want him to do. He puts the ball, allows Paolo and Franz to have the ball more to the point where he doesn't really even need to play make. That'll come, but impressive.
Yeah, if Anthony Black was going to give you 23 points every night, like, he's obviously your starting point guard, but that's not really happening.
Right.
We talk about, what happens when Markelle Fultz comes back. I mean, if there's any game to talk about that situation, it's after this one, right? After this Anthony Black performance. And sort of like Wendell, where obviously he's still knocking off the rust after missing, what was it, 18, 19 games, whatever it was. Wendell is sort of a different conversation. A lot of people are talking about Wendell and the way that he looks on the floor. His hand is still really swollen. I saw it tonight in warmups. Somebody said oh no, it's just a wrap on his hand. Yeah, he has a wrap on his hand during games, but I saw his bare hand tonight. It's still incredibly swollen. If you go back to the pregame or the pregame sound, whatever it was, shoot around sound, whatever the Magic did with Wendell before the game that he came back in, there's a moment where you see his hand and it's still really swollen. The hand is still really swollen. I don't know how much that is affecting him, but Wendell has not looked great. But we've talked about Wendell coming back and how his role would need to change. We're approaching the point where Markelle's role is going to have to change, even to the point of is it better off with Markelle Fultz coming off the bench? Is Markelle Fultz or is Anthony Black better than Markelle Fultz? Absolutely not. But are both units just more cohesive with Anthony Black continuing to play in the starting lineup, which the Magic have had some slow starts recently, but we have a good sample size of them playing well with Anthony Black in the starting lineup. And then right now, one of the biggest issues with this Magic team the last couple of games has been the bench unit just does not have it offensively. Joe Ingles being out is a big part of that. And Markelle Fultz right now would do wonders for that second unit. Ultimately, this is probably a pretty inconsequential conversation that we're having. Markelle Fultz comes back and he's almost immediately placed back into the starting lineup, I would guess. But I do think that is a conversation that is getting, more and more legitimate. I think it's more of a legitimate conversation, Luke. A point guard that I want to talk about from this game in particular, can we talk about Tyus Jones, man? 22 points in this game, 33 minutes, 8 of 13 from the floor, 4 of 6 from behind the arc, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, just 2 turnovers. And the reason that I want to talk about Tyus Jones, Luke, is because as bad as the Wizards have been this year, there's some early rumblings about them legitimately finally totally hitting the reset and the rebuild button there, with parting with some of these veteran players for young players picks and so on and so forth. And almost immediately, one of the teams that Tyus Jones was linked to is the Orlando Magic. And looking at his game, and especially in this game, it's just so evident, I think, how well he would fit with the Magic. What do you think?
Of course. He's a guy that shoots 3.5 threes a game at 44% clip. That when I was talking about Anthony Black, it's Tyus Jones. That's exactly if I could pick a point guard to be a guy that doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands, but if he has the ball in his hands, is going to do the right thing, going to make the right play, and can knock down the open three, it's Tyus Jones. 5.5 assists, not even a turnover a game. and he's playing on a terrible team. We saw it. We've seen it a couple times now firsthand how bad this Washington team is. It is one thing to average a lot of points on a bad team, but it's another thing to create open shots for your teammates that are not that good. And Tyus Jones, I think he just plug in really well with the team that is great off ball. The Magic, the number one cutting team in the league, scoring off cutting and off ball, in general. I think Tyus Jones would be a perfect fit. I think that he's going to be a free agent this offseason, unrestricted free agent. I think if Tyus Jones sees enough of what he likes about the Magic, I think you can get him here. I think you can overpay him to get him to come here, but also just the fact that players are going to start wanting to play in Orlando and be a piece of the puzzle that eventually lifts Larry O'Brien. Tyus Jones is great. He's a more than serviceable point guard, especially in this league.
Yeah, right now making $14.5 million. You have to think that he's probably in line for a pretty significant pay raise. I think, I don't know if it was David or Jeff, or no, I'm sorry, Dante or Jeff, because Dante was on the broadcast Tuesday for the Wizards game. One of them brought up the fact that over the course the last 5 seasons, Tyus Jones has led the league in assist to turnover ratio every single year. So I'm not a big proponent. A lot of times people bring up that's wild, right? That is legitimately crazy.
I'll let you continue real quick. Tyus Jones has never had averaged over a turnover a game in his career.
Yeah. And we'll talk about turnovers because they were absolutely a factor in the Philadelphia game. But people throw names out for the Magic should trade for this guy. The Magic should trade for this guy. Very rarely am I you know what? Actually, the Magic should trade for that guy. That's sort of where I am with Tyus Jones. Depending on how much it costs you, I threw this question into our group chat and it was met with a little bit of apprehension. Not nobody was trying to kill me or anything, but I was Denver's 2025 first round pick for Tyus Jones. It's essentially a second round pick. I don't hate that. And we're talking about a guy with a crazy good assist to turnover ratio. It doesn't light the world up defensively, but I think you could probably hide him enough here. And 40% from behind the arc, a guy that doesn't need the ball in his hands a ton. I can't think of a better fit next to Paolo and Franz, a guy that is realistically attainable and a guy that you could re-sign this offseason without completely breaking the bank.
He's just a great addition for a team that is so young and, as we know, is top 10 in turnovers per game at almost 15 a game. And then obviously right now you have Anthony Black slotted in that starting point guard position, who is just liable to get, have those 3 to 5 turnover nights regardless, just because he is a rookie. It'd be a huge upgrade, man. And I do want to go back to what you were saying, Jonathan, unless you had more on Tyus Jones, but I had more to say about when we talk about Markelle Fultz coming back, because this is the perfect time to talk about it after a great Anthony Black game. I don't hate the Fultz into the bench, going to the bench. I don't hate it. But my hesitancy with it is just, you got a couple guys in that bench unit that require the ball. You got 3, really. Joe Ingles to initiate the offense. You've got Moritz Wagner, who, outside of Franz and Paolo, has the highest usage rate. Besides, and then Cole Anthony, obviously. Cole Anthony's the other guy in the group. They all kind of require the ball. They all have higher usage rates. I wonder how that even looks. And I want to talk about it too once we get to the Sixers game, when it comes to Goga and balancing him with Moritz and Wendell, and when's the right time to pull the trigger on certain moves. Who knows? There just is increasingly more cooks in the kitchen. And something's got to give. You have to. Because if we're already willing to have the hypothetical conversation about Markelle Fultz going to the bench because of what he does in terms of usage for Paolo and Franz, it's only going to get worse, I think, that, increase the further on we go. And more we see Paolo do things like drop 40 points in a game. Things that, quite frankly, might not happen nearly as much if Markelle Fultz is in the starting lineup. Now, if you're winning games, who cares? But I also wonder if we gave too much credit last year to Markelle Fultz and the record of the team. Like, did we give too much credit there? I don't know, but I'm starting to think maybe we did. And I saw that conversation happening on Twitter or X today, and I was like, maybe we were. Obviously, Paolo wasn't what he is now, but he still was drawing double teams and all of that. And I just wonder, the team just got fully healthy, and you finish the year how you do, right? Like 29, 28 or whatever. I don't know.
Driving to Orlando today, and something that I've been thinking about the last few days is like knowing that I was coming to the game, preparing for like the pregame presser with Mosley, something that I've been asking myself and wondering and wanted to ask Jamal. And then I decided, he's not really going to give me a real answer anyway, so it's not worth asking the question is, Wendell has come back. Wendell is being reintegrated into the lineup. He's not all the way back yet, so we're still seeing Mo. We're still seeing Goga. Have there been conversations with Anthony and amongst the team in terms of what is going to happen when Markelle comes back and what Anthony's role is going to look like? It's a great question. It's a fair question. It's a question you're not going to get the answer to. Markelle's still day to day. We're going to reintegrate him and blah, blah. I was never going to get an answer to that question. Maybe I should have asked it anyway because it deserves to be asked. But you and I have talked about this. I don't envy Jamal Mosley at all when it comes to making these decisions. He's made it incredibly apparent he wants to run a 10-man lineup. And once you have J.I. back and Joe back and Gary back and Markelle back and Wendell back at full strength playing full minutes, somebody is going to get cut from that 10-man rotation. And should it be Anthony Black? I don't know, but when I look at the 10-man lineup, like who is it going to be? I don't think really all of those guys completely healthy. I don't know that anybody deserves to be pulled from that lineup. Like everybody deserves minutes. Right now, you can make the argument for Wendell because Wendell has not looked good since he's been back. But we're still I'm being patient with Wendell. I'm probably going to give him like another 4 or 5 games before I start to get like impatient with what's going on because he did miss so much time.
Yeah, I don't know what that I don't know when I'm going to be ready to have the conversation. I just know that eventually it's going to have to come just as a whole, and if Dell gets lumped into that, he does. But right now, with the guys we've been seeing, like I even like what Caleb Houston has been giving this team.
Yeah,
I like what Gogo's been giving this team. Obviously, Gary Harris seems to be doing better than he was, right? And he provides you shooting when he is good. And he's just been kind of average, doing like 2 of 4, 1 of 2 type of 3-point shooting nights. But regardless, he'll shoot the 3 if it comes his way, and that's really what you need right now. We saw how it impacts you tonight against the Sixers when they pack the paint. You at least need them to respect you because you've really got like 13 guys that have an argument for minutes. And we've had this conversation before, but now we have substance with it. We mainly had the conversation in preseason. But now, down the line, you've got 13 guys, and that includes guys like Caleb Houston, Gary Harris, Goga, obviously Moritz, Joe Ingles, J.I., Cole, A.B., and then your starting 5 of what you assume it might be when Kel comes back. So I don't know what it looks like, but I do know that it just feels inevitable. Trade deadline will be interesting. DMPs will be very interesting. It's kind of like the Goga thing, right? He comes in, he does his job, he impresses the coaching staff, and he's getting fit into this basically 3-man center rotation, which I genuinely didn't think we would ever see. And now you're probably gonna have the same thing with Anthony Black, unless Markelle Fultz comes in and he's like, yeah, I'll give up the ball, I'll cut off ball, I'll just play basically off ball, let you put me in a corner. then maybe he avoids that conversation. But it's crazy. It's crazy to think that this, the rotation could look completely different come deadline.
I'll give you something that's pretty jarring. So we're 2 months into the season now. We're closer to the trade deadline than we are to the beginning of the season. We're 43 days away from the trade deadline. The trade deadline is February 8th this year.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
We have a month plus a little bit of time until the trade deadline. Markelle Fultz needs to come back and needs to be like, hey, this is the value that I still bring to this team. Or I would not be surprised if Markelle is involved in those kinds of conversations leading up to the trade deadline. Because the question now is we're 30 games in, you're 18-12 for the past 25 games now, roughly. What did I say? How many games has it been? Markelle, last 22 games now, the Magic have been playing without Markelle and have established a new offensive identity without him. And now are you going to completely disrupt two units, the starting lineup and the bench lineup, to reintegrate Markelle Fultz? The starting lineup definitely struggles with playmaking at times, but I'm concerned with okay, if we bring back Markelle and give him the ball in the volume that he would need to be really impactful and raise the ceiling of this team potentially, how much are you taking away from Paolo? How much are you taking away from Franz? How much are you taking away from Jalen? I didn't think we'd be asking that question 2 months ago, oh, I'm worried about Markelle having the ball because he's taking reps away from Jalen Suggs. I've always been a Jalen Suggs believer, but I have never, ever been more confident that Jalen Suggs is a part of the future of this team. I cannot say that about Markelle Fultz.
Yeah, you can't. You absolutely can't. You can't tell me that you're 100% certain that Markelle Fultz is in the future of this team. But yeah, what Jalen Suggs has been giving you. I'm not ready to say this.
Just say it. I mean, you want to say it. I don't know what it is, but it sounds like something you want to say.
Is Jalen Suggs part of the three-headed monster of the Orlando Magic?
The answer is yes. What are we talking about? No, I don't know, but he's very close.
That's why I say it's a future conversation, right? It's something that I'm starting to entertain. Just how good. I mean, we all know, personality of Jalen, we all love him. The electricity that Jalen brings, we all love it.
I saw his parents tonight at the game, and I had to stop myself from thanking them for conceiving him. I had to hold myself back.
Yeah, like I said, listen, I don't think Jalen is near the realm of Paolo and Franz yet, but he's finally having a somewhat healthy season. We have gotten to see him get into a rhythm and find his identity in this team. He's in the starting lineup. Yeah, I just think that was just a sidebar that I've been thinking about, and I'm sure all of us have. But he's just been awesome and a lot of fun. He's a more than respectable 3-point shooter now. It's crazy.
You say he's not in that realm, but when we talk about overall impact, I think games that we don't have Jalen, we don't miss him as much, but we miss him almost as much as we would a Paolo or a Franz, which to me is crazy to say, but I don't think he's that far out of that realm just in terms of overall impact. If you're talking about individual value of a player, obviously guys that can go and create their own shot and do what Paolo and Franz can do are much more rare and much more valuable just in a vacuum. But we're talking about the way that they impact this team especially. I mean, Franz and Paolo are 1A and 1B. Jalen might be 1C. I don't know, 1.5C. He's pretty close.
Yeah. Impact is great. on a pecking order, I don't know if I'm putting them in a C category for the one spot, but
I'm not saying pecking order. I'm not not saying that at all. All right. Pecking order. You know what pecks? Chicken. You want to talk about chicken?
Wow. Thank you for that. You dug deep in your bag for it. I appreciate it. We want to talk about the fine folks over at Jam Hot. Jam Hot is our favorite chicken place, if you haven't heard. They're located at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. Outside seating, super nice. Go to jamhotchickenfl.com to access their menu, order ahead, music playlists even, all things Jam Hot. Go get your Jam Hot chicken. I'm going on Friday before the Knicks game, making it a priority. Got to make it happen. Going early afternoon. I got some family members going to that game. So I might be meeting up with them a few hours prior to tip off, before pregame media availability, all that kind of thing with Moe's. So come check out Jam Hot Chicken. Tell them the guys at the Six Man Show sent you.
Next, we want to talk about our patrons. Our patrons are the folks that literally help make every single episode possible. If you want to join in on the fun and help make the Six Man Show possible for years to come, and not just this generation, but future generations, folks, you can find us at patreon.com/the Six Man Show. We have a number of tiers that you can choose from, whatever works best for you, starting as low as $2 a month. So if you just want to throw a little something in there and help support the show, help keep the lights on, you can do that. You can find us at patreon.com/the Six Man Show. Part of our benefits for our Elite and Hall of Fame tier members or patrons is we give them a special shout out each and every episode. So as always, I'll go ahead and start with the Court Cousins. Then best friend of the program, Drew Gooden, Armin. Shout out to Armin and Hannah. Armin is a long-time patron, and Hannah, all the awesome graphics that you see that come out from our social media pages. Hannah is usually the one that works on all of those. Hannah and Armin were at that game against the Wizards on Tuesday. So a big shout out to Armin and Hannah. Love you guys. Carson Tulo, Jonathan Borges, Normal Magic Player History, Gabe Gaines, Wiffle, Michael Martin, Jamel Miller, Michael Salapong, Donkey Punch Dave, Paolo and Franz's Warmth. I am never, ever, ever going to live that down, am I? Pierre A., Dylan Holden, Mr. Mikey, Eduardo Sanchez, Danimal, Dodo15, Bobby Skinner, Goody93, Teddy Sylvia, Eric Lopez, Fuchsia, Bill Fulton, Edmund Lagone, Jose Esquilin, Caleb Pete, Cannibalism, Time Mr. TV, ESPN Really Sucks, Gear 95 Shred, Junior Bruce, Half Rican, Shahin 177, Bobby the Don, Himlo Ben Himro, Improv 221, Ray Pastrana, Magic Kid 714, Spanking Season, Soft Taco, Victor Cologne, Irish Magic Mike, Austin Lampy, Random Hustle, Eddie House's Burner, Maria, Keith Wallace, Fritz, Currency Kev, Bruv Sal, Kason Green, Santi Leon, Kane Eckler, The Distract, Ahmad Timsa, Chansu, Tom Gadsden, and another shout out to Time Mr. TV. Talking about keeping the lights on, Time Mr. TV is almost single-handedly keeping the Six Man Show's lights on with all the super chats in these post-game live shows. So a big shout out to Time Mr. TV, and a big shout out to all of our patrons. We love you guys so much. Again, if you would like to join the Patreon, and if you want to be part of that very special shout out that I just did, you can find us at patreon.com/the Six Man Show. Luke, breaking down this game from tonight at home over the Philadelphia 76ers. 76ers had the day off. They were off Tuesday, waiting for the Magic to get home. Tuesday, as we just talked about, the Magic were in Washington. So second night of a back-to-back, those road home back-to-backs are always tough. And really from the opening tip, the Magic didn't have the juice. They didn't really seem to have a ton of energy in this game. Luckily, Philadelphia was playing without Joel Embiid, which definitely helped the Magic a ton. Neither team, I should say, in this game came out really blazing. But the Magic, the whole story of this game was the Magic started off the game pretty well, had a 6 or 7 point lead, something like that. And it was basically off the back of Jalen Suggs cutting and his teammates, Paolo, Franz, finding him for open layups. The moment that stopped, the moment that the Magic started to settle for threes, Philadelphia came back into the game, sort of got control, and really never looked back. And they had this, 11 to 6 point cushion. It felt like for the final 3 quarters, every time the Magic would start to feel a little bit of momentum, start to feel a little bit dangerous, there was either an offensive rebound, which ended up in second chance points for the Philadelphia 76ers, or a dumb turnover for the Magic that would end up Philadelphia going the other way. Magic were down. What were they down? They were down 9 with 9 minutes to go, somewhere around there. And I'm at the game and I tweet out like, this is the second night of a back-to-back. Magic are down 9 points earlier in this fourth quarter. If they don't make a run right now, they're potentially going to run out of gas and sort of dig themselves too deep of a hole and not be able to climb out of that. Immediately after that, like 30 seconds after that, Paolo Banchero hits a 3. Philadelphia comes down the other end. They don't score. We're going down the other way. We find Caleb Houston in the corner for a 3 to make it a 3-point game. With 8 and some change to go, I believe. And I was like, okay, this is where the Magic are going to be able to make their run. And then they just reverted back to the silly turnovers. I believe the Magic ended up with, what was it? Yeah, 16 turnovers in this one, and you allow Philadelphia to get 12 offensive rebounds, which ended up they shot 17 more field goals in this game. It wasn't like the Magic, shot the ball like really, really poorly, or Philadelphia shot the ball like really well. This game got out of hand at the end. Like if you look at the result, the 112-92, this was a much, much closer game than that. Philadelphia got hot the last couple of minutes to sort of put the game out of reach. But this wasn't a game, Luke, where we've seen recently where like the Magic just can't hit a shot and the other team is making a ton. This was like the game was super close until the last couple of minutes. But the reason the Magic could just never get over that hump and regain control over this game was offensive rebounding for Philadelphia and then the Magic's turnovers, Luke.
Yeah, and Philly, they weren't hitting shots all game, but at the very end of the game, you saw why they're a good shooting team, right? Like D'Anthony Melton down the stretch had a couple threes. These guys, they started showing out finally and showing you why they're a pretty good 3-point shooting team. And they did it down the stretch, right? So waited till hanging around to the end and they put us away. Quite frankly, they did what veteran teams do. And that showed tonight. Every time the Magic had a run, Philly countered. Every time. And it was very frustrating, but it is truly the identity of a veteran team. As much as I cannot stand Patrick Beverley, he was a big leader in those answers. And he would do his thing, right? Getting to the rim, getting downhill, finishing around the rim. He goes 4 of 7, 10 points for him tonight. So, it just seemed like and you had obviously Marcus Morris Sr. torching you for stretches as well. And if your name wasn't Franz and it wasn't Jalen Suggs, you shot a total of 14 for 48 from the field. 29%. I did the math. The team stunk when it came to efficiency tonight. So it was unfortunate for the game to go the way that it did. Yes, you should have won this game. This is not a game you should drop. But it was off a back-to-back. But this team was without Embiid. They were 0-4 coming into games without Embiid this year.
I mean, yeah, we can certainly talk about like efficiency. Paolo didn't have a great shooting night. 19 points on 6 of 21. 1 of 8 from behind the arc. 6 of 7 from the free throw line. Franz, 24 points. Jalen, 20. Paolo, 19. Your next leading scorer was Caleb Houston with 7 points. Like going through the lineup, Wendell with 4, AB with 3, Cole with 5, Mo with 2, Chuma with 3, Goga with 2, Jed Howard, has a 3. The last minute of this game. We've had a few of these. It feels like lately, where like if the Magic can just get one more guy to show up, they could end up winning the game, and that was absolutely the case in this one. Like Caleb was great, right? For a Caleb game, Caleb had a great Caleb game, but overall, like your fourth leading scorer, 7 points. What was it? Like 20 something points off the bench. Like it's not going to get it done for a team that throughout the season, or at least the early part of the season and during the win streak, had one of the best bench units in the entire league. And without Gary Harris, without Joe Ingles, without Jonathan Isaac, like just struggled mightily in this game. Yeah, 22 bench points tonight. It was just never going to be good enough. But the 16 turnovers and the offensive rebounds that you give up to Philadelphia, leading to them having 17 extra possessions, you're never going to win a game with a 17 field goal attempt discrepancy unless like you just have a crazy free throw shooting game, which the Magic did not. I think it was pretty in line with their averages in this one. Let me jump over to the box score really quickly. Yeah, Magic 21 of 24 from the free throw line. Like unless you're in the 30s or the 40s there, you're not going to survive a field goal attempt discrepancy like that. And I talked to Jamal Mosley and Jalen Suggs after the game, just like this has been an issue this season. Like one of the things that they always talk about is taking care of the ball. Coming into tonight, the Magic are 22nd in the league in like coughing up turnovers a game. Like they're bottom 10 in the league, and asking like what can be done to improve that. And it just comes down to like individuals taking pride in the basketball and making good decisions. Jalen said it's not something like they've coached all they can coach with us in turnovers. We just have to take pride in taking care of the basketball. And it's been a real issue for a team that always preaches taking care of the basketball. Defending, playing as a unit, taking care of the basketball and rebounding. Like that's what like this roster really should be focused on. And far too many times this year, the Magic win in spite of turnovers instead of because they took care of the ball really well. Like they just have not done a great job taking care of the basketball this year. And this was a game where it absolutely cost you. Like it didn't feel like Philadelphia went out and won this game. The Magic just gave this game away. And again, we talk about this tough stretch that the Magic are in right now. You absolutely cannot afford to give games away. If you have the opportunity to go out and win one of these games, especially at home, where the Magic have lost, 3 in a row now for the first time all year?
Two.
Well, yeah, it's definitely two at the Kia Center. I thought there was one other before the official change, but it hasn't been great. Like they started 10-1 in that building this year, and that you drop at least the last couple, and like taking care of the basketball. You do that in this game, like offensive rebounding from Philadelphia aside. If this is a 10 turnover night, you might win this game, because I feel like the Magic sort of let go of the rope at the end. Like when they realized like, oh hey, like we don't have it tonight, like those last like 3 or 4 minutes when they were gassed because the second night of a back-to-back, and they realized like, hey, we don't have it. They sort of uncharacteristically let go of the rope, and then Philadelphia just blew the game wide open.
Yeah, I mean, you can only try so many times before they answer so many times that you're like, oh, there's no point. There's no point, because the Sixers are going to have an answer for the 8th time tonight. Just disheartening. Like they literally just like beat the effort out of the Magic tonight. Down the stretch. Came down to it, the Magic like, these guys are hitting shots. They've been countering us all night. There's no point. Now, you quite literally get gifted a game without Embiid. Like I said, the Sixers were 0-4 coming tonight. But the part that disappointed me the most was the lack of points in the paint. Obviously, they packed the paint tonight. They're trying to get you to shoot threes. I get it. But at the end of the night, every team can do what they did tonight. We've seen it happen multiple times throughout the season. The Magic are still second in the league in points in the paint. So there's no excuse for you to score 40 points in the paint against a team that doesn't even have Embiid. They're starting Paul Reed, who is like 6'10", right? Like, get to the paint. There's nothing to be scared of. Make it happen, right? I mean, and the Sixers are 10th in points in the paint. A lot of that is because of Joel Embiid, who averages 35 a game and feasts in the paint. But instead, tonight, you get outscored 58-40. So that was the biggest takeaway for me. And turnovers, obviously. You have 16 to their 10. You got 3 guys tonight with 3 or more turnovers themselves. So, unfortunate that the game ends this way. Throughout the game, I just continued feeling like we had a chance. But then there was just one time where Philly answered another run of ours, and I was like, never mind. This is not happening. So, sucks, but got another chance to make it right on Friday.
Yeah, I think it was, that fourth quarter run where the Magic closed, the gap to 3, and then like within a minute it's back to 9. I was like, okay, we just don't have it tonight. Like this one is going to be over. And with the turnovers, what's so frustrating is like a lot of it is just like lazy passes. It's like these underhand like bounce passes in the middle of the lane when there's 2 or 3 defenders around. Like, why are we even trying that? Like Jamal said, like he feels like they're trying to force it too much when like a lot of times like the easy pass is the right pass to make. And that's sort of what they need to I don't even want to say get back to doing, because they haven't really done it a ton this year. Like turnovers, for the most part, have been an issue all year. You're one of the worst teams in the league in turning the ball over.
Yep.
And for a team that, isn't really able to make up possessions, like shooting from behind the arc, like every possession that you give away is really a big deal. Like some teams where that might not hurt them as much because like, oh, look, we're down 12. We can just hit 4 threes in a row and we're right back in the game. The Magic, for the most part, don't really have that luxury. Like they'll have a few spurts of that, here and there, but on a consistent basis, like they just need to do a better job of turning the ball over. And in a game without Joel Embiid, getting beat up on the offensive glass and getting out rebounded in this game, second straight game that you're out rebounded, just not good enough. And it sucks because I hate when there are like other circumstances. Like it is the second night of a back-to-back. You're missing 4 rotation players from this game. But it's like, even still, it really felt like the Magic should have been able to come away with this one. And I don't think it's going to be a question of like the Magic missing the postseason. But when they start to look at like seeding late in the year, and it's like, oh, well, we'd rather have the 4th seed or the 5th seed over the 6th seed or whatever the case may be. This is going to be some of those games that you look back on and you're like, hey, we could have had that one easily.
Here's the other thing, too, when it comes to the easy cop-out things, right? We were without a lot of rotation guys. Well, guess what? Everybody inserted into the lineup played respectable tonight. This loss was not on them, right? They didn't go 6 of 21 from the field. Paolo Banchero did, right? They didn't go 1 of 6. Anthony Black did. Wendell Carter, 1 of 4.
I just want to give Paolo like a quick little like defense. Like the dude was getting mugged at times tonight. No whistle to be had. He did not have a great game, but like probably 4 or 5 of those field goal attempts shouldn't have been field goal attempts. He should have like 10 more free throw attempts.
Yeah. Now, the other thing to add to, just from an evaluation standpoint, you made this point last night, when talking about Jalen Suggs. The offense flows so much better when Jalen Suggs is getting to the rim, not shooting threes. In the game against Washington, he goes 3 of 10 from 3. And it's because at the beginning he was red hot, and then he just cooled off the rest of the game, but he didn't. 10 3-pointers and 11 field goal attempts. There is no reason why Jalen Suggs should be shooting 1 2-point field goal the entire game.
He was trying to keep up with Corey Kispert is what happened.
Yeah.
No, like quite literally, I think that's what happened.
Yeah, and Kispert is going to win a shooting contest every single time. And he did last night from percentage standpoint, 3 of 5. A much smarter shot diet for sure. But you saw the contrast tonight. Jalen Suggs, 8 of 12 from the field. Much more efficient night. 20 points, only 2 3-pointers taken. I think that's the next step, is that like Jalen Suggs at the NBA level has not been a 3-point shooter yet. So it's kind of just learning, first of all, learning what your groove feels like, right? Like learning what that is when the rim feels like a freaking ocean that you're going to make it every single time. Learning that if you're him and what that feels like at the NBA level, And also just what are good shots, right? If I miss this shot, sure, it'll create a huge, or if I make this shot, sure, it creates a huge momentum swing for my team because I'm hot right now. But if I miss, am I taking it early in the shot clock? Am I wasting a possession if this is a miss? Think just common things that I think that as he is becoming an NBA 3-point shooter, he's going to have to learn. Shooting 10 3-pointers isn't the answer. If he shot 5 of 10, would I be more willing to accept it? Absolutely. But how many times is Jalen Suggs going to shoot 5 of 10 from 3? Chances are he starts off hot from 3 like he did last night. He ends 3 for 10. So love Jalen Suggs. I've already given him plenty of flowers in this episode, but much prefer him to be the guy that's just attacking the rim, getting feet in the paint and working from there and just shooting the 3 ball when it's open, or even creating space and shooting off the dribble, because he is good at that as well.
And it just puts so much pressure on the defense. Like when Jalen is getting that outlet pass and like going to the rim, like you feel the defense like just kind of suck in like to the paint.
Mm-hmm.
And if guys like Franz and Paolo and AB are able to knock down shots, like it makes a massive difference. Like those guys getting in rhythm, open looks, like in the flow of the early part of the game. That's something that we haven't seen as much from Jalen in the past couple of weeks. My guess is it probably has a lot to do with the wrist, and he probably just doesn't want to get hacked on the wrist right now and doesn't want to absorb that contact. But it was really good to see him tonight with those early cuts, getting to the rim, because like the offense like got off to a good start, and it was because of Jalen Suggs. And one thing I just want to say is we're now 30 games into the season. Jalen Suggs is shooting 37% from behind the arc. I'm making it official. Jalen Suggs is a 3-point shooter now. Like it's not like, oh, it's a small sample size. Like 30 games shooting 37%. It's almost half the season. Well done, Jalen Suggs. Very, very
at least a third of the
pleased
season.
about that. We're 10 games away from it being the entire half. So
yeah,
I'm very happy with that. Knicks on Friday, Luke. Looking at the schedule, every single one of these games is losable now. For the foreseeable future. For the next several weeks here. But I do feel comfortable in saying like all of these games are also winnable. Like the Magic are good. The Magic are capable of beating teams on any given night. And when you've lost, 2 straight games at home now, you lost a game Wednesday night that you should have won. You've got New York coming to town. This is, other than like the Boston games, like that weekend and like the in-season tournament games, like this feels like one of the biggest games of the year going up against the Knicks, and the Magic need to win on Friday.
Got to get the win. And if you're looking at strength of schedule, we've talked about this one, like the stretch through January being very hard. But after that, it's a lot of.
I don't want to hear about strength of schedule until we're done with January. Like,
well, that's what it is.
I know,
after
but like,
is when it's sunshine
January
and rainbows.
Sucks.
But what I am saying is that you need to get the wins here while you can, which is why the Sixers loss stings, because you've still got Cleveland and Chicago. As crappy as Chicago is, they have the second easiest remaining strength of schedule. And being a team that's already crappy, for Tankathon to say they're the second easiest, they've got a cakewalk, evidently. Because usually it's the better teams that have an easier strength of schedule, and how Tankathon views them. I promise Tankathon doesn't view them as a hard team to play and a strong team. Cleveland is another one. They've got the third easiest. So while the Magic have the fourth easiest, they've still got Cleveland, who sits at 7th right now, pretty much right behind the Magic, 1 game behind. The Bulls, who, listen, we still got over half the season left. It just takes 1 winning streak. We've seen it. We've seen it firsthand. It takes 1 winning streak to make up ground in this league. You have got to go 500 at least through January. You've got to stay afloat, keep yourself out of hopefully the play-in spot, but also set yourself up for come February, like apparently it gets a lot easier, right? We've seen it. Tankathon thinks so. Because Tankathon definitely doesn't think that the stretch through January is easy. So that February through the end of the season apparently is easy. You have to just set yourself up for success. At some point, losses weigh on you. This is a young team. I don't think that they'll ever quit, but losses can beat you down. And we've experienced it as fans. So hopefully this upcoming stretch doesn't break this team with some of the losses that they take. But like I said, you just got to hope you go 500 in the stretch.
So, yeah, I'm glad that you clarified, because what I was thinking is like by the end of this stretch, you want to be 500, which isn't really the case. You know, you want to go 500 in this stretch. So we're talking about the 17-game stretch. I mean, we've already really started the stretch, but what is left of it is 17 games. Friday, you've got the Knicks, and then going through January 29th, when you finish, at Dallas. I mean, even you got Minnesota February 2nd. So I guess like that sort of counts to like the next 19 games here. If you can go 9-10 or 10-9 or 11-8, like even 8-11 is probably okay, because at that point you would still be
26-23.
Yeah, you'd be 3 games over 500 after that stretch. Still in a really good position. Like at that point, 42 wins is still very much attainable. Maybe even more than that, depending on how the
more
schedule
than that,
breaks.
I would think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but tonight was a wasted opportunity, but you've got another one on Friday. Got to win that game against the Knicks. It's a must win in my opinion.
Yeah, you got to get back on track, because the Magic, after that win streak, it's not been awesome. Right, they're like 3-5 in their last 8. It's we need to get back to some winning ways here. 4-6 in the last 10. So get back on track on Friday. Keep it going. Stay 500. Get 500 the rest of the way here, and be above 500 for sure by the end of January.
Yeah, just start stringing some wins together. Get some more 2-3 game win streaks. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, but more wins than losses would be great, Luke. But what do you say we go ahead and wrap this one up? You got anything else?
No, not at all.
All right, folks, that is going to do it for this one. Again, on Friday, Ben will be outside of Kia filming the newest edition of the Six Fan Show after that game against the Knicks. And be sure you're going to vote.nba.com each day to vote your favorite Magic players to the All-Star game. That is going to do it for this one. For Luke Sylvia, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the Six Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!